Hi guys, this is Nisha here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. So happy Mondays to everybody. I know Mondays are almost probably the hectiest, the craziest day of the week. I usually feel like that on Mondays, get the kids sorted, get all the stuff done for the business because Monday is going to be very busy for us. So I hope you're all having a fantastic day, no matter what it is. So today we are in day 8. So today is day 8 of my 30-day challenge. And today I'm going to be more specifically talking about how do you identify the right rate that you're going to be charging. Now, this is quite technical at this point. So if you haven't watched any of my previous video, and this is the first video you're watching, please go back to the previous one. I've done a lot of videos about what service accommodation is all about. How can you generate £500 to £1,000 monthly income from service accommodation from property that you don't need to own yourself. We talk about where to advertise your properties, how to find the properties, how to design them. So we've covered a lot of other topics, but today we're going to specifically looking at what is the most appropriate rate you're going to charge. Now, we're going to go a little bit more in detail here. So I hope you are following me when I'm talking about all the different terms I'm going to be using. If not, don't hesitate to just drop me a message and say, hey, Nisha, you use that term and I don't know what it is, or I'm really stuck with that. Can you help me with this? I'm more than happy to help anybody out there who want to really start a service accommodation business. So, this is my offer to help all of you. So just drop me a message. That's not a problem at all. Okay, so let's start. We've looked at obviously your property. You know what you're going to be able to achieve. You looked at the design you want to have for your property. So you kind of know now what you want to do. But how do you actually identify how much you're going to charge? What kind of rate are you going to use? Now, a lot of people get confused at this point. They don't know what rate they're going to charge, and they're pretty much trying to guess. Well, there's no need to guess. All you need to do is do a bit of research. Now, when you were looking for your property, you would have carried out a SWOT analysis anyway. You would have looked at who are in your area, who are your competitors, and what type of property is being offered in your area. So now is when you're going to actually go and identify how do you position compared to all the competitors or all other people that you have identified in the area. Now, there's two different ways you can look at it. You can either go on AirDNA and start looking at the research that they've carried out, or you can do your own research by looking at other online travel agents. Now, AirDNA is really good, but unfortunately, AirDNA doesn't cover the whole scope of the area, especially if you're working in an area which has more business travelers, because Airbnb data is mainly driven from Airbnb and other travel agents who concentrate mainly on leisure travel. So if you're in the leisure market, then that's great. But if you isn't, and if you're working in an area where you have a mix of leisure or business or completely business travelers, then the information you're going to get are not going to be accurate to use for you. So my advice would be to do some research on Airbnb and some research on maybe booking.com, because they are the two biggest online travel agents out there. So if you're doing a kind of a scan or exploration or research. Hi Cheryl, oh, nice to see you here, darling. Thanks for following. Big love to you. So you're going to be looking at your area and identify what are other people doing. Now, when you look at all the different properties, you're going to have your top high-end properties, and that's usually your nicest properties, very expensive properties with designer stuff in there, some designer item in there. These tend to be more your luxury, kind of your leisure stay properties. And then within that range, you're going to have all other type of property up to your very low end property. And this I'm not comparing to rooms, by the way, because on Airbnb you can also have rooms where somebody have a room in their house, and we're not looking at that, because when we're looking at service accommodation, we're mainly looking at a property as its whole. So you are letting the whole property. So at the moment, we're just going to ignore the room and look at your lowest rate in terms of property as a whole. So make sure you do identify that. A lot of people get confused because they go highest and lowest. What they don't realize is the lowest one is usually the rooms, and you don't want to be comparing yourself to the rooms because that's not what you're going to be providing. So now that you identify the lowest and the highest, you now need to look, how do you position yourself between those rates? Now, depending on what you're going to provide. So remember in one of the video, we talked about having an idea of what you're going to be able to provide, having a property that stands out. Now, you will be looking at different properties and identify which property you're going to be kind of putting yourself up to in terms of what you're going to be designing, paying for. So now that you've identified that, you need to collect a few properties, about 3-4 properties within that bracket that you've just looked at, to be able to see what rate they're offering. And that's what you're going to be offering too, because at the end of the day, it's not about coming up with any sort of rate that shows that you're making loads of money. It's about being able to compete in an area where there's already other providers. So you need to be able to be competitive with the price that they're offering. So you need to be able to offer a similar price. So that's will be your rate that you're working on to be able to look at your figures and analyze your data. So now that you've identified that rate, you also need to understand what are the additional fees that added. So some rate will include your cleaning fees, some rate will not include cleaning fees, some rate will include additional costs for additional guests from one person or from 2 people. So you need to be able to look at all this information to be able to understand what kind of rate are you looking at, because in order for you to compare and use the data, you need to compare like to like. And sometimes the information out there is not necessarily as what you want, but you need to work it out and make it happen in terms of the information, the format that you want. So if you want to charge from 1 person up and they're charging from 2 people up, so you know your rate would need to be slightly less than what they are advertising, because they're doing 2 people up and you want to do 1 people up. So you really need to compare like to like and understand what you're doing. Now that you've identified that rate, this is not the rate you're going to use for your first property. Now I'll tell you why. This is a top tip. When you're starting, you advertise your property on any online travel agent. You get the benefit of being new and get the exposure of being listed higher on their ranking, which is great. But unfortunately, you do not list higher for a very long time, because there are other providers providing many other facilities, or maybe having excellent reviews, many likes, many shares. So their properties are ranked higher. Now, what you need to do when you're starting is obviously use the initial exposure, but also go lower on your rate. I would say even like a 20%, 30%, go low so you attract everybody to look at your property. So the more people are looking at your property, the better your ranking is going to be. The more people are going to share your properties, the better your ranking is going to be again. So by having a really low rate, you're going to start getting a lot of people looking at your profile, and that's where you're going to start ranking higher. But also you're going to get more booking. Now, getting more booking is also very important to update your ranking as well. So that works very well with any online travel agent. If your property is getting a lot of booking from them, you're going to rank higher. But also, once they've stayed with us, they're going to give you those reviews, which is very, very important to rank higher, especially on certain online travel agents where it is required to have a minimum of 3 reviews, for example. So you need to be able to get those as quickly as possible. By having a reduced rate, you're able to achieve that very quickly, have the initial exposure, boost your property enough to be able to have a lot of people saving your property on their account, so you can show up more every time they're going to book, especially if it's for people who are traveling in an area for business purpose. You want to be able to be there on their listing as a saved property, so they can see you all the time they're going on their account. So that's a top tip in terms of the rate and how do you actually start. I hope you have found this useful. There's a lot more videos and useful content if you're looking for useful content on service accommodation in my KVM service accommodation coaching community. So I do a lot of lives, and I am definitely putting a lot of content in there for you guys. So Please go and check it out if you haven't checked out my page on Facebook. I've also got an Instagram account, and I'm also offering people access to some downloadable templates when they join the community, so you can have access to that as well. Hope you have a fantastic day, everyone. It was nice talking to all of you. Thank you for following. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for the love. And if you've got any questions, just ask. I'm here. Take care. Bye.